Welcome back to WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderocker. We've had a great show so far. You've learned about fusion. You learned about the power of innovation. And so, by the way, I want to introduce you to Jason Feldman because he knows all about, whether he knows about it or not is another deal, but he understands fusion. He definitely is an innovator. He pulls people together to extract their very best at a core entrepreneurial level. It's such a pleasure for me to welcome Jason Feldman.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My pleasure to have you, Jason. I've been talking about this for some time. You know, I just have to skip back to what we've been discussing because it's a big topic and you have a natural bent for pulling people together and diverse people. You seem to really intuitively understand the power of bringing diverse people into a room and then kicking back and just kind of letting things unfold. Tell me, where did you come up with that skill? Did you learn that, or is it just a natural thing to say, hey, everybody, just chat, and an hour later we're all going, this is amazing?
Yeah, it's not a natural skill, I don't think. I think it was, in hindsight, I think in reflection, I realized what got me to that point. And it was an interest in a lot of diverse things, a lot of different topics.
Curiosity is part of the whole deal.
Sure, and and it was an interest in things like the local food system, learning about myself and my natural skills of being an activator and a creative problem solver
and a catalyst.
Sure, and the entrepreneurial circles and wanting to solve societal problems, and that led to networking with the entrepreneurial community or the nonprofit community.
And let's just stop there for a second. Yeah. There are a lot of entrepreneurial activities and programs and projects, and they focus on getting their products up and running and blah, 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 right? But I found it so interesting that you did make the bridge to the greater good, social responsibility. You brought everybody into that dialogue. People seemed to feel like that was a natural extension of what they were doing, even though when they got there, they weren't really thinking about that. So I want to compliment you on that, but keep going. So these groups, and I've been to at least, I want to say 3 of them over time that you've organized. Some of them are probably non-existent at this point, but what have you really learned since you've been in Omaha and you've had these 3-4 groups and so on? What do you say to yourself or your wife, your new wife, about these groups?
Yeah, I think in reflection, having a diverse set of kind of social circles that I played around in, I think that what I learned most from a lot of this community organizing with very diverse backgrounds of people who otherwise may not intersect. What that led for me being in the middle of this is a lot of empathy and compassion for people with different backgrounds and perspectives. And I think ultimately having that very diverse spectrum and network of people led me to have a broader outlook on life and just coming up with innovative ideas and solutions to problems, because I'm able to empathize with different people and challenges that they face, which kind of comes up with richer solutions to things.
Yeah, and I think maybe in some cases you articulate their problem better than they do. And that's a good thing too. Yeah. It's so helpful, by the way, to take one little run down this alley. When somebody else hears your challenge, or maybe what you've done in your life, but it doesn't seem like any big deal, and then somebody magnifies and reflects back who they see you as, and it's quite a different person and a better person. And it's such an uplifting and interesting experience, and I think you have the ability to do that. Anyway, so you've done all that. You still run what? How many groups? Let's give it a quick capsule here about these groups.
Lost track. Well, the Facebook groups, meetup groups, groups for people that wanting to get involved in community and volunteering, and people who want to start businesses. Well,
if somebody in my audience wants to meet Jason Feldman, where's the next good place that they should go? They want to go to the Live Lounge every Wednesday? Is that it?
Yeah, every Wednesday afternoon at 5:30, I host an event called the Live 402 Happy Hour. Each week I bring an inspiring change maker to come in and share their story, who they are, where they came from, where they're going, how they can get involved.
By the way,
but I was meeting a lot of people, and all that great inspiration was getting just bottleneck to me, and I wanted to expose other people to that. So just a close, intimate exchange to share ideas.
After you leave these meetings, some of which are more, some are a little boring, but some are inspiring. I mean, it varies from group to group. But do you go home and say, wow, I mean, I got to write down all the great things that I now want to do as a result of the meeting? Or do you get focused back on your kind of your new career in the real estate industry? I mean, how do you deal with all these people, all of which have something interesting to say?
Yeah, no, I don't bog down too much on documentation or anything like that. It's just it's just having exchanges with people, and you kind of inventory those back in your mind, and as you have a new interaction, maybe I meet and have coffee with somebody like Shauna Dorsey, who's in the tech community. I may not directly be involved in tech workforce development, but at some other time, I later come back to that when my hat that I wear with my passion of attraction and retention of talents in our community, and how do we reduce brain drain, and how do I relate that to my career in real estate as being a welcomer and resource connector to people who are moving to Omaha. I can take that little nugget of something that she said in that workforce development talk that she gave and apply that to my real estate world. And I think the more that, even if we're not in a primary circle of interest with maybe one of these speakers, more than likely there's a little nugget of inspiration or some way to apply that to your primary interest and to stay focused on your primary interest, but apply lots of diverse topics and pieces to what you're primarily interested in.
Does it chew up your time personally? Do you feel like you run out of time that prevents you from, like I said, moving forward on some other things, whether it's family or profession or whatever? Do you run out of time?
That was the 2018 epiphany for me. Every year I have an epiphany, and a big part of my 2018 epiphany was to say no to things that don't align with my primary goal. And so my primary goal for myself and how I'm serving this community is to fill my cup before filling the cups of others. I know that my natural skills is to be an activator and a connector, but I realize that I have to fill my own cup before filling the cups of others. So I know that I can only say yes to activities and meeting with people who align with that goal. And fortunately, I'm still able to justify meeting with a diverse range of people. Because that's the value that I accumulate. Every new diverse person that I meet and exchange with adds to that inventory, that bank of knowledge and diverse knowledge that I can apply to making new connections.
I have to tell you, you remind me of somebody who has been here in this studio to introduce their book, Dr. David Thomas, who's a friend of mine. He talks about the theater of everyday life. He's a brilliant man and has great insight, but it was interesting talking to somebody who knew him. We had mutual interest in David Thomas. And he said, the thing about David that he does is that as you're having a regular conversation, he has such a broad realm of connections and ideas and people and so he'll pull a quote in or an actor or some quote from Shakespeare into just a mundane conversation, right? And he says it just enlivens your day and makes you realize, that the world is much bigger than you probably realize. Now, I think you might be one of those people as well. Do you read a lot, or is it mostly just oral and picking up?
I audiobook a lot.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm such a multitasker, which I know it's impossible to actually multitask. But when I'm doing yard work, and working on our rentals and things like that, we're always.
What's your favorite podcast?
Bigger Pockets podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so Bigger Pockets. It's a podcast. I think they got something like 300 or 400 episodes.
Wow.
And it's all about building wealth through real estate. Yeah. And they have different offshoots, Bigger Pockets Money and Bigger Pockets Business podcasts.
Okay. There will be people writing this down, by the way.
And they very well should.
They should, yes. Yeah. Outstanding. Well, tell us, as we have just a couple minutes here, a little bit about where you're at in your career right now, what you're doing, and so on. Because everyone's like, wow, man, I'm watching this guy go this way and that way. What does he do for a living anyway?
Man. So doing that in a couple of minutes is challenging, but I'll give you just real quick cliff notes of how I got to where I'm at now and where I'm going.
Yeah, please.
So, when I first started adulting, I graduated from a rural high school with a student counselor that probably wasn't licensed to be one, and went to school with 46 kids in my class, and I just knew I wanted to serve my community, and my counselor said, well, you should go be a paramedic or firefighter or a cop. Well, I said, all right, well, I'll become a police officer and studied criminology, got on a little rural police department. that was my first go. I always use this, life is like a pipeline, or rather it should be more like a funnel.
Yeah.
Exactly. And realized that was the first go in life with this career in law enforcement, of learning what I'm passionate about, what my strengths are and what they're not.
I see.
And so I did that. I lasted for about 3 years with that, and then I came back here to Omaha. I worked at the prison briefly. Then that reinforced that law enforcement was my career path, and did some worldly travel, lived overseas for quite a while, had a lot of really interesting, just diverse jobs, and one that was most interesting was working with a home developer who was building homes out of hempcrete. It's like a concrete mixture made out of hemp.
Wow.
Came back home to Nebraska after all that travel, and created a trade association to open up the industry for hemp in Nebraska. And then that springboarded into working with an entrepreneur who was starting a company based on hemp-related products.
Wow.
That person was involved.
You're a man ahead of your time.
Well, yeah.
All
surprisingly.
right, we got 1 minute left, my friend.
Long story short, that led to the entrepreneurship community, working and realizing I was great at helping these entrepreneurs.
That's when I met you.
They were involved in an incubator that was used, that all these entrepreneurs live into a house together. That experience got me interested in realizing that the entrepreneurship community had gaps, and we needed to create a pipeline for attraction and retention of entrepreneurial talent.
Yes.
That led to my passion for how do we attract and retain talent in Omaha.
Yes.
That led to what career can I be a catalyst for, and that was the real estate industry. So, creating housing and helping people buy and sell homes.
All right.
Was my way of meeting new people. And
you're at
getting
Nebraska
plugged into our
Realty,
community.
is that correct?
Oh no, I'm at Keller Williams.
Keller Williams, thank you.
Keller Williams is the largest real estate company in the world.
Is that right?
It is, very
All right.
much so.
So how do we find you online in your real estate role, real quick?
Yeah, well, you can go to live402.com, live402.com. You can visit me on Facebook, just friend me on Facebook.
Right, Jason Feldman on Facebook,
Yeah.
You're everywhere on Facebook, and it's a great pleasure to have you here. I finally got the whole story on you, man.
Yeah, well,
Great
you got
to
a little
see
bit
you.
of it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's correct.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. This is WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderocker. I've got a great guest next time. Hang in there with us. We're always unloving, fresh, new, innovative ideas in the world of business. We appreciate your attendance and your attention. We'll see you next time.